Story 1. I am a nurse, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention vaccine information statements have been pulled offline, as well as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention datasets on everything from homelessness to disease epidemics, healthcare resources for gender-affirming care, and sexually transmitted disease treatment all gone. Human immunodeficiency virus treatment information all gone. People who work in the industry are horrified right now. Story 2. Wondering what he has to do next that will be so bad that Congress finally stands up and stops him. It's going to get worse than the Great Depression. Story 3. Remember Jonestown, 1978? All the true believers drinking the Kool-Aid, but the people who didn't want the Kool-Aid had to drink it anyway because the other guys had guns? Kind of like that. Story 4. It feels like I'm a child in my father's car, while he is road rage, and is flipping everybody else off while provoking them with his careless, insane drunk driving. Story 5. At the bottom of everything, I am just so goddamn sick of Trump being at the forefront of the universe for the last 10 goddamn years. It's inescapable and exhausting. Story 6. Not American. I just live here, but it's very weird. People are really angry and basically hate each other. There's no way to come together and solve anything. That hate is eating us all alive while Trump and his rich allies divide up the country to sell off to the lowest bidder and enrich themselves further. Everyone is just hopeless and at a loss. Feels like we just have to sit here and take it. People are either too apathetic or too scared to act. The Make America Great Again crowd have completely lost their minds and would chew their own foot off if it owned some imagined liberals who don't exist. Every made-up slight, from trans kids use kitty litter in schools to the Department of Education funds satanic worship, is taken as a fact or at best something you could negotiate over, while the actual conspiracy is happening right in front of us. Chances are Elon Musk has just identified all federal workers to the Russian spy agency, and nobody is going to do anything about it. In my head, I just keep thinking, you can just go bankrupt and go back home if they decide to arrest or deport you, and the only thing I do is support liberal causes. I'm not even far left, and I'm thinking this way. I totally understand now how Hitler rose to power, even as I feel like I'm screaming and nobody is listening here. Story 7. It feels incredibly stupid. It's the pinnacle of human stupidity, greed, and corruption playing out like a terrible reality show in its final season. This country is a failure. Story 8. I'm sick. Sick of the situation. Depressed. Wondering how I'm going to afford to eat. Grocery prices are already too high, and tariffs are going to drive costs up even more. I hate that man and his followers. I love our Canadian neighbors and hate what is happening. Story 9. I'm a federal worker. The last 2 weeks have been surreal. I'm a top performer with exceptional performance appraisals for the last 15 years of my career. I willingly work unpaid overtime and have been bestowed several civilian awards and director coins. Now, I have to spend every day refreshing my news feed and work email, wondering if my job is gone because someone who isn't in my agency says so. Story 10. From a bright-eyed 18-year-old who was an idealistic patriot and served his country for 4 years until I realized how corrupted and psychotic the Marines were, to a 27-year-old burned-out second-class citizen bordering on poverty and homelessness because the system despises me for continuously pursuing the mental health resources I need due to traumatic events that I witnessed while serving and upon transitioning out. I honestly look at my life up until now as one big cosmic messed up joke that I am not in on. I am one big educationally programmed useful idiot and unemployable thug. Story 11. People kept acting like the things said about my country were un-American, communist, paranoid. I was right. This country is not the country we were raised to believe in, and it never was. My friends and I are planning on moving. I really don't have the money to do so, but worst case scenario, I might not have a choice. I'm not going to sit here while the government targets my friends because of their race, or wait for President Trump to turn it into a Handmaid's Tale either. Story 12. I grew up in a conservative family from the South. We didn't hate Democrats at all, and we were friends with everyone. We just held different opinions with some. Now the conservatives down here are jumping at the chance to outdo each other in terms of conservatism. It's embarrassing. And if you don't follow in lockstep with them, you are the enemy. The days of people on other sides of the fence being nice to each other are gone. What really gets me is that my conservative family members actually do hate the things the ultra-conservatives are doing. However, they just can't force themselves to vote Democrat, so they vote for these extremists and hope for the best. Story 13. January began in flames and ended in flames with chaos mixed in the middle. It's been an insane year already. At the beginning of January, we had two different drivers do what seemed to be an act of terrorism. California was literally on fire for 24 days. The month ended with two different aircraft crashes. And, of course, our constant political turmoil. I don't like this year at all. Story 14. Doesn't feel good. Feels like we used up all of our social credit from World War II, and now we're that star high school football player at the local bar 20 years later. Story 15. Not good, man. Not good. Wondering what I am going to do to keep my wife and daughter safe, while also trying to control the bubbling anger that arises when I see the country I serve take a huge hit on the Constitution I swore to protect. I've watched good people turn into the most awful people imaginable. Hate has taken such a stranglehold, and there are those that welcome it, revel in it. I'm just silently preparing for what is ever increasing in probability right now. Hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Story 16. 2 weeks in, and I am becoming a staunch Democrat. Between pardons, tariffs, and blaming a plane crash on diversity hiring, I am embarrassed to be an American. Story 17. I feel helpless, frustrated, anxious, angry, and afraid. It feels similar to the collective trauma of COVID-19, but way worse. I had plans to grow in my career, to get a house, and be married in the next 2 to 3 years, and it feels like that just imploded in less than a month. I don't know what to do or who to turn to. Story 18. Embarrassing and disheartening. It is one thing we have ignorant citizens and small-minded leaders. Every nation has that. It is another that we have a B-list celebrity and trust fund baby as president, voted in a second time to give him the confidence that he could do nothing wrong, who has managed to manipulate the system to avoid criminal consequences for over a dozen charges, silence various controversies, sometimes even taking the brunt of the controversy only to have his delusional supporters simply ignore it. He seems to be leading or causing a hunt for immigrants. It is worrying how little I've heard of it despite the sightings of the military being involved. He has been impeached to no effect, rolling back regulations in workplaces designed to help and protect employees, nearly provoking war, and literally dismantling our government before our eyes. It most certainly does not help that the potential to save us from this lies with poor leaders who lack the confidence to collectively stand up, and those that do have no power to make change because of how much of the government has been lost not to the Republicans, but to Trump's followers. As a natural-born citizen but child of immigrants, I am afraid for even myself, not just my parents, of this silent immigrant roundup. Think back to the Japanese Americans during World War II. I am even beginning to fear my government. Story 19. It's sickening and scary on a political level. I'm a 63-year-old white woman in a state where I would never raise a child of either sex now. I'm angered by the level of racist rhetoric and anti-inclusion efforts made by Republicans at every level of government. I'm horrified that people of color are being targeted merely for the color of their skin. I'm frightened for my friends and neighbors who are immigrants and those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, for women of childbearing age, and for the poor, disabled, and elderly. I'm embarrassed that so many of our citizens are so ignorant, so hateful, and intentionally uninformed. I'm appalled that our schools don't teach respect for others, actual science, truthful history, and fail to ignite the love of learning for so many kids. I'm demoralized by the first 2 spiteful, vengeful weeks full of dishonesty and retribution on the part of the Trump administration. It's not a great time to be an American. Story 20. On a personal level, I'm constantly worrying about my dad and my stepmother. My dad has darker skin, part Native American, and my stepmother is Mexican, completely legal before anyone argues. I'm waiting for the call that they were wrongfully arrested or grabbed on suspicion of being illegal immigrants, or worse, that they'll just be gone and I won't know, or they'll be attacked by some stupid civilian on a mission to kill anyone they think is a criminal. Adding in my own circumstances as a gay woman, I'm always on edge. I've kept myself closeted at my job from the beginning, so I'm not as worried about that, but I've already dealt with the shift in how people are acting now that they have the option. I follow too much international news to think fleeing would be a better option for me. There's a worldwide shift happening, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. We're just at the center of the storm at the moment. Story 21. Like, who on earth is minding the store? All those folks in the House and Senate getting paid a very decent salary plus benefits and a guaranteed retirement. Mike Pence, remember him? He will draw $80,000 a year for 4 years as vice president, on the taxpayers' dime, doing nothing as far as looking out for our interests. I want my money back. I want the Internal Revenue Service to quit allocating taxpayer money to these people who are decidedly not doing the jobs for which we hired them. I would like the Central Intelligence Agency to take action on American soil and put a stop to the president and his actions that do not belong. I would like to call somebody, anybody, with even a basic understanding of the law, the Constitution, and enforcement to get these black-hearted, evil individuals off my property. If I hear another reference to diversity, equity, and inclusion out of Trump's mouth again, I will howl loudly. I love my country. It has always been great. Not perfect, but still a place a person could be proud to call home. Then these people come here clearly hating this country and all the good it represents, and want to change it. The good news is the new management cannot be sustained and will break under its own weight. Nothing this evil can survive. Story 22. I've never felt more ashamed to be an American. The people who elected an incompetent buffoon and his billionaire cronies in power are nothing short of imbeciles. They aren't just ruining their own future, they're dragging the rest of us down with them. China and Russia didn't even have to lift a finger. This country is burning itself to the ground from the inside out. Who would have thought that the greatest threat to the United States wouldn't come from foreign enemies but from its own people? Story 23. I feel like I'm going insane. I just wonder how long these delusional people will support this dictator as he continues to dismantle the democracy we've built and fought for over the last 80 years. I hoped that him implementing these crazy ideas from Project 2025 would wake people up to how terrible those plans are. However, it seems they are willing to keep their heads in the sand until it's too late. Pretty insane and very disheartening to watch. Story 24. We're all on our own here. Nobody is coming to save us. Everything is arbitrary, and nobody is in charge. The illusion that anybody knows what is going on or what anybody is doing is over. Stay low, stay quiet, eyes peeled, be alert, be ready to move. Story 25. I see the United States of America breaking up. Trump is actually turning out to be worse than anticipated. His followers are not even using reality to judge his performance. They don't understand economics, or they are greedy and screwing the working class benefits them. Story 26. As unfortunate as it looks, idiocracy is being forced on the third of the nation that saw and tried to avoid what is happening. It's a funny movie, but a terrible reality that I must now live. They don't even say, I love you at Costco. Story 27. Been in the United States military for nearly 20 years. In that time, we have done some great things, some questionable things, and some pretty horrific things. Through all of that, we have had several countries stand by us through it all. Now, the leader-in-chief is damaging those relationships at best and pushing towards conflict at worst. For most of United States history, we fought overseas. He's pushing for conflict, making the protection by the two massive oceans and the Navy irrelevant to the civilian population and infrastructure. All for what? What the question? Story 28. Half the country is more interested in licking my tears than anything else, and they are more than willing to shoot themselves in the foot to make that happen. Canada is a longtime friend, and they supply most of the fertilizer we need to grow food. Sure, let's mess with that. That will show those dirty liberals. Story 29. I'm pregnant and decided to stop paying attention to the news. I'm dissociating from society in order to preserve my well-being and protect my nervous system, at least try to. Story 30. It makes me sad. We became victims of our own freedoms. People are ignorant and tribalistic, lost in their own propaganda echo chambers. I hate to say we all need to suffer, but we all do in order to see that consequences exist. Make America Great Again has always been a lost cause, but seeing so many leftists turn against Harris was astounding. It was a war on truth, and truth lost wholeheartedly. Story 31. Trump was just warming up the first time. Now he's going full nuclear and it sucks, especially as a millennial. Our lives have been one crisis after another since September 11th. At this point, I don't think we'll ever recover, but maybe, just maybe, we can make it a bit better for Generation Z and beyond. Story 32. It's whatever. Asking us, how does it feel? Doesn't do much or help other than make it look like you're trying to stir some trouble. It's not like we can change it, right? What I will say is everyone better buckle up. It doesn't matter if you're American or not. America is so intertwined in everything, good or bad, that the whole world is going to be feeling this for years to come. And unless there is a violent coup to remove the current government, it will not stop.